a pleasure to have you join us. And I'm so happy if you catch this broadcast live, because we're going to move beyond just looking at what this conversation is going to be about. So it's not just going to be about the documentary itself, but the context of this documentary and how it's going to sort of emphasize shifts that are going to help us understand menopause better. Whether you're a man or a woman, this conversation definitely involves you and should include you, because menopause is a natural stage of life. Yet for many women on the continent, it remains one of the least understood and least discussed health experiences. Across the region, we're seeing cultural beliefs, family dynamics, and limited access to information, often, leaving women in spaces where they've got to navigate this transition all by themselves and navigate it in silence. A new documentary has been put together known as More Than Hot Flushes. Love that title. It uses personal stories to open up the conversation around menopause, challenging myths and encouraging greater understanding of this conversation. I'm joined on the line by TV producer Hermi King, whose latest project actually explores what menopause really looks like. Now, this is from the perspective of a South African woman, and also really just opening up the space for us to interrogate why these conversations matter. Hermi, such a pleasure to have you on the program. Welcome to Channel Africa. Hermi, can you hear me? Okay, I think the line broke. So we're going to take a break and then return on a better line.
This Mandela Month, join the conversation shaping Africa's future. Mandela Month on Channel Africa.
Darubini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Pengine ujio wa rais wa Namibia Nandi Naitwa tayari mkwisha wasili.
Bila shaka kama ambavyo umedokeza hapo mwanzo kwamba tuna ziara hii ya kikazi kutoka serikali ya Namibia ambapo mgeni na Rais Samia na wajumbe mbalimbali. Sasa labda kabla ya kuendelea kuangalia ziara hii, mahusiano yake, lakini faida zake kwa sasa, labda turudi nyuma kwa haraka tuangalie mahusiano ya Tanzania na Namibia yalivyokuwa na mpaka sasa. Mahusiano haya hayakuanza jana wala leo.
Unadhani sasa nini kifanyike katika kuimarisha diplomasia baina ya mataifa haya mawili kwa ufupi?
Kwa ufupi kabisa, hatua ambayo pia Rais Metumbo ambaye amechukua kufanya ziara hii ya kikazi ya Tanzania analeta ujumbe mmoja kwamba yuko katika hatua za mwanzo za utawala wake, tunafahamu, na hivyo anajenga mahusiano ya kimkakati na ushirika wake karibu na Namibia. Lakini hii kwa haraka Afrika inaelekea katika kipindi cha kuimarisha biashara za ndani.
Darubini ya Afrika kila Jumatatu hadi Ijumaa kuanzia saa 11 kamili hadi saa 12 kamili jioni majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
The Cultural Spotlight on the Channel.
Welcome back to our Cultural Spotlight space. In this half hour, looking at the work of a new documentary, More Than Hot Flushes. I absolutely love that title because it already gives us indication as to where the story is going. And as I'd already mentioned, a television producer, Hermi King, put it together. And this is her latest project that basically explores menopause as a theme, but looks at it from the perspective and the lens of a South African woman, and opening up conversations for us to just be normal about conversations on menopause. Hermi, a pleasure to have you on Channel Africa. Welcome.
Oh, Mmatsheko, it is so lovely to be here. And just to talk about menopause, it's absolutely my passion at the moment. So thank you for this space and this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Immediately when you say just to talk about menopause, I love it because it just sounds so normal. And that's exactly what I think this documentary is going to do. It's going to help us to sit around the table, men and women, to have the conversation about this normal, part and stage of a woman's life. So why? Absolutely. So talk to me. I mean,
Yes.
before you even started thinking about putting the documentary together, what was happening in your life that you can tell us about?
And that's the point exactly, Mmatsheko. If you think like a woman will be a third of her life in menopause, it's a lot of years.
Wow.
And that's exactly what happened to me at the age of 50. I actually ended up in hospital with urinary tract infection, a UTI. And nobody was suggesting that maybe, Hermi, you should be on hormone therapy. So that started made me think like, wow, what is really going on here? And I started serious research. And then I found this really incredible doctors in the UK and America who's passionate about menopause. There's a whole new conversation starting to happen all over the world. And for me, it is so important that Africa, that we're not left behind. We also need to talk about this. We need to create the words to express, what is menopause. Women don't have the words, the vocabulary to go to the doctor and to say, this and this and this is what's going on in my body. Yes. And like you say, the title, More Than Hot Flushes, I made a documentary in Afrikaans in one of the vernaculars, Veras Warm Gloede, but hopefully we'll extend that to more vernaculars, is the fact that hot flushes is the only known symptom, but there's more than 150 menopause
No,
symptoms. Yes.
I didn't even know that. More than 130.
Yes.
That's a lot.
And people think, no, I don't have menopause. And then when you start chatting to them, suddenly somebody will pipe up, dry eyes. That's a symptom, dry eyes. And I'd say, yes, that's a symptom of low estrogen. And there's also something like one of the unusual ones is a frozen shoulder. Lots of women start struggling with a sort of a shoulder that doesn't want to move. And so it's really interesting, Mmatsheko. You won't believe this. All the things that's related to your hormones.
Right. Okay, well, this is fascinating. I mean, this is really, an education a project, I want to say, in many ways. But what do you think it is? Why is there so much shame around menopause? Because you said something that's a little bit startling around, having this conversation. Women very quick to say, no, 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 I don't have that. I mean, is it shame, or is it just a misunderstanding of the stage of life?
Yeah, I think it's especially that we don't celebrate. I think maybe in some of our cultures they do celebrate, the older woman, and they get welcomed into different spaces, when their menstruation stops. But in a lot of the world, it's the sort of thing that you are not important anymore. You've done your childbearing years. What's your role really now? So I think we as women must take that power back, and like today, like chat about it, talk about it. But so there's this one thing of the transition into this older age that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And then there's also the physical thing that happens to you with the low, because when your three important hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone lowers in your body, you get certain symptoms. And I think it's the educational part to understand and to be able to identify those symptoms, and then also having different conversations of how do we embrace being an older woman, have fun, live your best life.
How to live your best life. And I want us to look at that, perhaps from a research perspective on your part, Hermi. I mean, how did you piece the documentary together? Is what I'm trying to get at. Did you speak to different women that are having experiences on menopause that were obviously willing to speak to you, or how did you just use your own personal experience? How did you actually come up with the research to put together this documentary, More Than Hot Flushes?
No, that's such a good question, Mmatsheko, because in the beginning I was quite like thinking, who will talk, on screen about this, like you said, because there's the shame surrounded by it.
Yeah.
But such a lot of, it's almost as if the universe just sort of said, it's time for us women to talk about it. Amazing women just stepped forward, like Zelda Legrandzi, Mandiba's assistant.
Spokesperson and assistant. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Remember, she said, I'm willing to talk about it, I want to tell you about my experience with menopause. So all these incredible women stepped forward and said, can I share my story? And you'll see when the documentary is only launching in August now at the Silver Skermfeest, and it's only on air in December. But when you watch it, it's like really people from all walks of life just telling their story. And then we use this amazing person, Antoinette Lowe. She's an actress, and she's also sort of 50, like a little bit younger than me, but she was also on this journey. So we follow her journey through the 4 episodes, and in between, so she goes to different doctors, breast cancer specialists, dermatologists, because menopause also affects your skin, your hair, a lot of things. And then in between, we have these women telling their personal experiences. So it's like a weaved story of all the different elements.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's great. And you know, you've really worked and spoken to women from different walks of life, which I think is so wonderful and gives this and shapes the character of the story, as it were. So we're going to continue speaking to Hermi King. She is an award-winning television producer who's come through with a new documentary that really interrogates menopause as a subject matter. Let's take a break and return.
The Upside with Poppy Jongwana and Mmatsheko Mosito.
The moment that we've all been waiting for at Channel Africa One on the socials. She's a digital entrepreneur, an all-round superstar. Micheline Damase, welcome to Channel Africa. Welcome to the I've been so excited to get you onto the show. I'll tell you why, as a rash for you. And by rash, I mean that I stalk you.
Oh, okay.
Stalking you in a very professional way.
Obviously, having started off in the beauty space, having insecurities, acne, adult acne, and first started off as a mask, and then became a passion and more of an art and a craft. And then transitioning into fashion was so natural because I've always been someone who loves fashion. So I decided to go into business with my mom, who is professionally a fashion designer as well as a businesswoman. And just us having similar style and understanding the African market, I felt it would be a great venture. So that's how we transitioned into fashion. I'm still a beauty girl, but I'm more of a fashion girly, I think now. I don't know. But I mean, there might be something coming up for beauty. We'll see.
The Upside with Mmatsheko Mosito and Poppy Jongwana. Catch it on the Channel Africa app. Weekdays from 3 to 6 Central African Time. The Cultural Spotlight on the Channel.
Today, our cultural spotlight falls on the work of Hermi King. In her capacity as a television producer, she's come through with a new documentary, More Than Hot Flushes, that uses personal stories to open up conversations about menopause, challenging the myths, and also encouraging a greater understanding of what actually happens during the stage of life, and to lift the shame around menopause and for us to have the conversation, because this is a stage of life that every woman is going to go through. So I think this is just a timely conversation to be having right now. Hadmi, every woman's experience is different when it comes to these transitions and menopause. But what surprised you most about the stories that you heard in putting together the documentary?
Yes, Mmatsheko, it's so interesting. It's everybody, like you say, because it's 150 symptoms. Every single person's got their own journey.
Yeah.
And then you also get the different stages of menopause. There's something that's called early menopause that people really don't talk about. That happens to women in their 50s sometimes. There's a perimenopause, that's the sort of in your 40s. And then there's now the postmenopause, once you've stopped your menstrual cycle in your 50s. And there's also something like a chemical menopause, when people go on certain contraceptives, or like the Depo-Provera injection can also cause like menopausal symptoms. So it's what it really is it's a story about hormones, how hormones affect a woman's body. And basically in the world at the moment, there's just not enough research done on women. And I don't know if you've seen recently, Melinda Gates has now just given like millions, I think it's 250 million US dollars for the research on women's health. And she had to go to 3 different doctors before they identified that her symptoms, it was menopause, it wasn't something else. And the same with Oprah Winfrey, she had to go to 5 different doctors before they identified it. So that's the problem we're sitting as women. There's not enough research on the one side, and on the other side, we're just not talking enough about it's a symptomatic illness. If you have these things, you need help. So so that's sort of very interesting for me. Like, but it's not just us; it's the whole world. Sort of the woman is waking up now, saying enough is enough. Let's start talking about it. Let's do something about it. Nobody needs to have joint pain, for 20 years and think, what's wrong with me? Actually, you just need a little bit of hormones, to make you feel good again.
It's all you need. The solutions are out there, and that's a good story to tell. as part of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of women that's on like lots of other medications, for joint pain, for depression. Even with depression, your hormones has got a huge influence on depression. We don't have a lot of statistics in our country or in Africa, but if I look at the UK statistics,
Mm-hmm.
like the biggest suicide rate there is women is between the age of 45 and 55, and that's that when that menopause really sets in. That's the highest suicide rate. They say in the UK, 1 out of every 10 women leave their jobs because they can't cope, with um, the stresses of menopause. Because some people have it really bad, and other people will say, "I don't feel anything." But if you have it really bad, it really influences your mental state, your physical state.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's very important that we chat about this, like you say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then back to the documentary, because I mean, who have you put it together for? And I ask this because I did mention that this is a stage of life that every single woman is going to go through. Are you speaking specifically to the women who are currently undergoing menopause, or the generation that is to approach it in the next 10 or 20 years, or whatever the case is? Or is it just a space for everybody, men and women, to learn about the stage of life? Who's the documentary for?
Yeah, absolutely. I think mostly it is focused on, because I've done it now in Afrikaans, on the
Mm-hmm.
Afrikaans community telling their stories, but the story is universal. It's for
Yeah.
every woman. And I'm starting to work now on my next documentary also in different vernaculars, so we can also tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
But the docu, and I've got two daughters as well, 18 and 20, and they thought like, wow, it's so incredible also for young women to see older women just talking about their health. And because like you say, a part of that shame is also that our parents, our mothers, never talked to us about it.
Yeah.
They never told us, this is what's happening to me. So I think it's so refreshing for young women to actually see like old birds like me chatting about health and
Mm-hmm.
about issues, and all the women that participated in it. And then our episode 4 is specifically also focused on relationships, because with the UTIs and vaginal dryness and all of those things happening with low estrogen, it's also got a huge impact on relationships, on your so it's definitely every man should watch, and know about menopause, because it impacts your relationship on different levels, but also in on your intimate relationship. So on episode 4, we really spend some time on all the different facets of relationships and the stage of life. I mean, it's a big divorce rate for women in their 50s, and you must ask yourself why.
Yeah,
Exactly.
why? What's happening? And are we having the conversations that can, prevent these divorces if possible? But this is, I mean, you've really opened a gateway. I want to know now, because, I'd like to share this with my networks. Do you have subtitles?
Yes, absolutely. We've got
Great.
subtitles, so it's great. And I mean, you could, yeah, if you watch it, you can enjoy it. It's just so refreshing to see a lot of women chatting about themselves and about being a woman. So, yeah, lovely.
I really, really commend you for having the courage to share your own personal story, Hermi, and to bring other women on board, so that this is not an exercise for people to feel alone. It's for women to gather at different stages of their cycles and really talk about what's to come, and to prepare for it, not out of panic, but actually incorporate the joy in that preparation, in enjoying the different stages of your womanhood. A documentary is coming through, More Than Hot Flushes. Just a quick reminder, Hermi, as to when exactly it's going to launch. In August, you mentioned. On
Yeah.
which platforms can we watch?
It's only launching in August at the film festival, and then it
Okay.
will be on air in December. So hopefully we'll chat again, and chat more about menopause on Channel Africa. What a wonderful thing for you to be doing.
Cheers. We are definitely going to do that and bring other women that have been part of this project to join you, so we can have a nice big roundtable to have the conversation. Thank you very much, Hermi. Thank you, and all the best for August. Eh?
Thanks a million.
Thank you very much. Hermi King, television producer, award-winning. I mean, she's been nominated for so many SAFTAs. I've lost count, okay? Kas Opi Kasi is one of the shows that was nominated for a SAFTA, and so many others. So look out for More Than Hot Flushes. It's going to be coming through everywhere in December, but she's also going to be launching this at a film festival in the month to come. 11:31, Fix standing by with the latest sports.